Hey friends, welcome back to the Want To Project, where we talk about the emotional mechanics behind leadership, empathy, and how we as humans actually work. Today we're going to dive into something that most people feel every single day, but they very rarely have the language to name it. And it's this: how people treat you is a mirror of their own shame, not their personality, not their values, not because they're having a bad day. It's a reflection of their shame. Once you truly understand this concept, everything changes. You stop taking things so personally. You stop getting tangled up in other people's emotional chaos. You start leading people, whether it's your team at work, your family at home, or even just yourself, with a sense of clarity instead of constant confusion. Today, we're going to break down this idea, and then we're going to get super practical. We'll explore the 6 core types of people and the fundamental recognition need that drives their behavior. These needs are for significance: approval, acceptance, intelligence, pity, or power. And trust me, once you can spot these, it's like having a cheat code for human interaction. So, let's get into it. Let's start with the foundational truth that most people never learn. Behavior is a confession. Here's what I mean by that. People don't treat you based on who you are. They treat you based on who they are, especially when they feel exposed or vulnerable. At the root of that feeling of exposure is shame. Shame is that deep, gut-wrenching feeling of "I'm not enough." It's the fear of being seen as flawed, unworthy, or fundamentally broken. And because this feeling is so painful, we rarely express it directly. Instead, it leaks out sideways through our behavior. Think about it. The person who constantly belittles you or makes sarcastic jabs, they're not telling you about your flaws. They're confessing their own deep-seated insecurity. They're trying to push you down to feel a little bit taller themselves. What about the person who ignores you? The one who makes you feel invisible in a meeting or a social gathering? They're not making a statement about your importance. They're confessing their own paralyzing fear of not mattering. By withholding attention, they're grappling with their own feelings of being overlooked. And the person who just explodes at you over a tiny mistake, that explosive anger isn't really about you. It's a confession of their own lack of internal control. They feel overwhelmed and powerless inside, so they lash out to regain some sense of command over their environment. The person who nitpicks every little thing you do, pointing out every tiny error. They're confessing their own intense fear of being judged. They project their inner critic onto you, hoping that by finding flaws in others, they can somehow preemptively defend against the judgment they fear is coming their way. And finally, the person who always tries to dominate the conversation, the project, or the room. The one who has to be in charge. They're confessing their terror of being powerless. Control becomes their shield against a world they perceive as threatening and unpredictable. In every one of these cases, shame is revealing itself through behavior. And that behavior, that confession, always points to a deeper, unmet need. When you can learn to look past the surface-level action and understand the need that is driving it, you can finally understand the person. Stop reacting to the drama and start responding to the human. This brings us to our cheat code, the 6 recognition needs. Every single one of us is wired to seek a primary form of recognition. It's the emotional currency we value most. When we get it, we feel seen, valued, and safe. We operate from a healthy, collaborative place. But when we don't get that specific type of recognition, our shame gets triggered and our behavior becomes distorted and unhealthy. If you are a leader, a parent, a partner, or work in customer service, this framework will change the game for you. Let's break down the 6 types even further. First up, we have the significant seeker. Their core need is simple: see that I matter. They want to know their presence and contributions have a tangible impact. In a healthy state, these are your natural leaders. They take initiative, they embrace responsibility, and they drive things forward. But when their need for significance isn't met, their shame behavior kicks in. They start bragging. They one-up every story you tell. They might steal the spotlight in meetings or take credit for work that wasn't theirs. What they are really desperately saying is, if I'm not seen as important, I feel completely invisible. So how do you lead a significant seeker? You don't give them empty praise or a gold star. You give them meaningful responsibility. Give them a project they can own, something that has a real impact. That's how they know they matter. Next is the approval seeker. Their core need is, tell me I'm doing it right. They are motivated by validation and positive feedback. When they feel secure, They are the most hardworking, loyal, and eager to help people on your team. They're dependable and conscientious. But when they're running on shame, they become chronic people pleasers. They over-explain everything. They might even apologize for just existing, for taking up space. Their biggest fear is letting you down. What they're really saying is, I'm terrified of disappointing you. The way to lead them isn't to be overly critical or vague. It's to give them crystal clear expectations up front. Then, celebrate their progress along the way, not just the perfect final result. Show them that effort and learning are valued just as much as perfection. Our third type is the acceptance seeker. Their core need is to feel like they belong. Let me be part of the group. In a healthy space, these are the glue that holds a team or family together. They are naturally collaborative, warm, and community-oriented. They build bridges and foster connection. But when they feel their sense of belonging is threatened, their shame drives them to become clingy or overly accommodating. They'll avoid conflict at all costs, even if it means sacrificing their own needs or opinions. They just don't want to rock the boat. What they're saying underneath it all is, please don't push me out. I need to be here. To lead them effectively, you have to create an environment of psychological safety. Explicitly invite their voice into decisions. Ask, what do you think about this? And then actually listen. Make it safe for them to disagree. Fourth, we have the intelligence seeker. Their core need is, respect my mind. They find their value in their ideas, their problem-solving abilities, and their expertise. When they're at their best, they are incredible innovators, strategists, and critical thinkers. They solve the problems no one else can. But when their shame is triggered, their behavior becomes insufferable. They might become condescending, talking down to others. They over-explain simple concepts to prove their intellectual superiority, and they feel a compulsive need to correct everyone on minor details. What they're really confessing is, if I'm not the smartest person in the room, I feel like I'm nothing. The key to leading them is to show them you value their intellect. Don't wait until the end of a project to ask for their opinion. Ask for their input early and often. Genuinely acknowledge their expertise and thank them for their strategic thinking. Fifth is the pity seeker. This one can be tricky. Their core need is, see my suffering. They connect with others through shared struggle and vulnerability. In a healthy expression, this can lead to incredible empathy, emotional depth, and a real talent for holding space for others' pain. They can be very caring friends and colleagues. However, when shame takes over, they get stuck in victimhood loops. They can seem helpless, constantly recounting their struggles, and may even resort to emotional manipulation to get the care and attention they crave. Underneath this behavior, they are saying, if I'm not struggling, I fear I'm not worthy of your care and attention. To lead them, you can't just tell them to get over it. That will only deepen their shame. The strategy is to first validate the feelings. Say something like, that sounds really difficult. Then, gently redirect them toward their own agency. Help them identify one small step they can take, one small win they can achieve, to move from a feeling of helplessness to a feeling of empowerment. Finally, we have our sixth type, the power seeker. Their core need is, don't let me feel weak. Their entire worldview is organized around strength and control. When they are feeling secure and healthy, they can be wonderfully decisive, protective, and bold leaders. They make the tough calls and shield their team from external pressures. But when they feel their control is slipping, their shame manifests as a desperate need for dominance. They become controlling, intimidating, and overly assertive. Their fear is palpable. They're screaming, I cannot survive feeling powerless. Trying to fight them head-on is a losing battle. The way to lead a power seeker is to set very firm, clear, and consistent boundaries. Don't engage in power struggles. Instead of giving them ultimatums, which will just make them dig in their heels, give them choices. Frame things as you can do A or B. This allows them to maintain a sense of control and agency while still operating within the boundaries you've set. So why does any of this matter? Why is it so critical for leadership and even for things like customer service? Because when you can accurately identify these underlying recognition needs, you stop reacting to the distracting, often frustrating surface behavior. You stop taking the bait. Instead, you start responding to the actual human being underneath it all. In a leadership context, this is a superpower. It allows you to de-escalate conflict much faster because you know what the person is really asking for. You can build trust on a much deeper level because people feel genuinely seen and understood by you. It helps you assign roles more strategically. You give the big, impactful project to your significance seeker and the complex strategic problem to your intelligence seeker. And maybe most importantly, you can reduce team conflict before it even starts by proactively meeting people's core needs. And think about it in customer service. You get an angry customer on the phone. Are they just a jerk? Or are they a power seeker who feels completely helpless in their situation? Are they an intelligence seeker who feels like they're being treated like an idiot? Or an acceptance seeker who just feels dismissed by the company? Once you can identify what the upset person is really asking for, you can speak directly to that need instead of getting lost in the noise of their anger. This not only helps them, but it also protects your own nervous system because you're not absorbing their chaotic energy. You're turning chaos into clarity. Because once you see the need, you can meet it, or at the very least, you can acknowledge it, and you can do all of that without losing yourself in the process. So the next time someone treats you poorly, whether it's a colleague, a client, or even a family member, I want you to take a breath and remember this. It is not a reflection of your worth. It is a reflection of their unspoken shame. It is a confession about a need that isn't being met. And when you understand these 6 recognition needs, you gain the power to navigate almost any social interaction. You gain the power to lead people with real empathy, with strong boundaries, and with a level of emotional intelligence that will set you apart. If you want more scripts, breakdowns, and emotional mechanics like this to help you lead with more clarity and compassion, make sure you hit that subscribe button and stay tuned for the next episode of the Want To Project. I am Jim Rutherford. Thanks for watching.